Man, so this is awesome. We are stoked you could be with us. We're wondering what got you into tabletop gaming.
So what got me into tabletop gaming was just kind of being a nerd for my entire life. Um, I'm wearing a Marvel T-shirt right now. I read comics. I love Star Wars and fantasy and stuff like that. So as a natural extension of that, at some point I was going to have to pick up some D20s and sit around the table. My parents were super weird about still thinking, even though I was not alive in the 80s, still thinking that D&D and Satanism were still a
Oh
thing,
yeah.
or were a thing at all. They were still very much in that satanic panic mindset. So I was
Yeah,
not
yeah.
allowed near it until college, where I dropped the bombshell on my parents. Hey, mom and dad,
I'm a nerd.
yeah, I'm going over to a complete stranger's house who I met on the internet, and we're gonna play Dungeons and Dragons. And they were like, "Well, you're an adult now. We can't do anything about that." So I played D&D. I loved it, and I mean, from there, when I get into things, I get really into things. At some point, if you guys are interested, we can discuss my foray into the world of professional wrestling. But I got into RPGs in college. I stayed into RPGs, and now I'm doing 2 streams a week where I just talk about tabletop gaming for anyone who will put up with my nonsense for 2.5 to 3 hours.
Now, do you primarily DM, or are you also a player?
I play sometimes, but these days I am mostly a DM because when people figure out that you know how to run games, you will run games forever.
Yes, that's right.
Now, when you do get to play, I'm curious what kind of. You say you take it seriously, so I'm curious what kind of D&D you are. Are you like you will don a costume and change your voice and you will call me Marf, or
I
do you take it a little less seriously?
I change my voice.
Okay.
I don't dress up because, again, when I take things seriously, I get into that. So I don't have the disposable income to buy full suits of armor to dress up and be like, I am Sir Godric, the Fist of Cthulhu, or whatever you end up being. Uh, so I change my voice. I try to think and act in character, but if someone calls me Ryan instead of my character name, I'm not gonna throw a shit fit. It's
Okay, that's great. I was
Yeah.
actually I was actually trying to real time, and I shouldn't have. When you mentioned the demonic aspect of it, okay. Have you seen the Chick Track? Do you know what I'm talking about?
yes, I've
Okay,
seen the Chick Track. I've seen Mazes and Monsters.
I don't know
I
Mazes and
mean,
Monsters.
it was basically like the first major work of Tom Hanks.
Okay, 1982 film.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a TV movie, and basically he played a college kid who started to think that his D&D was real,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, it's a prime cheesy 80s TV morality play.
That
I
clearly
don't know if
worked.
you guys. Oh, sorry, what was that?
That clearly worked.
Yeah, I I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Day After with Jason Robards about a nuke hitting basically U.S. and Russia nuke each other. It's that quality of movie though.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
that is also a very bad, uh, you know, hitting you over the head with like Reaganism bad type stuff, which Reaganism was kind of bad, but and nuclear war is a serious problem, but the way they do it is just ridiculous.
My parents actually played D&D in the I guess late 70s, early 80s, when it was like really taboo to do that if you were like a Christian or something. And so they always had to do it in secret, but they played with other Christians. I play it now. And my friend told me about the Chick Track, and I looked it up. And Rez, we're gonna have to add Mazes and Monsters to our Real Descent movie
Oh, definitely.
movie
Okay.
podcast list.
Mm-hmm.
uh, we're starting to maybe also add something to the quiver of content. Where Rez had the brilliant idea of real descent, REEL, for the movie reviews. So I'm gonna love watching Mazes and Monsters. That's gonna be great.
Are you guys gonna watch all 3 parts of Atlas Shrugged?
Oh God.
Maybe if we turn it into a drinking game. I don't think there's
Yeah, we
another
may-
way I
we-
could do
we
it.
may have to like live stream drink
Yeah.
through that one because that was those get. I never got to the third. Have you seen them?
Oh yeah.
I got to the third. I got through the first 2, and then I just couldn't even bother to get into the third.
So sad.
Because they change actors every time.
Yeah, I know.
They change actors, directors.
Mhm.
So, I mean, how did you get into the libertarian movement, Ryan?
So my descent into the madness of libertarianism, if you will, happened in kind of a roundabout way. So I mentioned my parents already. I grew up in a, BoomerCon Christian household. Both parents voted for Ronald Reagan twice.
Yeah.
They voted for W twice.
Yeah.
Um,
Preach, brother. We're like the same. Me and Rez are the same. Go ahead.
And like my mom was a religious Rush Limbaugh fan, which was weird because she hated him. Like she was like, I don't like his attitude. He's right, but I really don't like his attitude.
Yeah, right.
Whereas I was sitting there going, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I was 12.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I remember being very politically aware starting around 2008. Unfortunately, I was not Ron Paul politically aware. I was super into Mike Huckabee. And I remember being really mad that fake conservative John McCain beat out my man Mike Huckabee.
We were all disappointed by that.
Yes. Well, yeah.
It's okay.
John McCain is in fact was in fact a garbage human being.
Yeah.
But I hated him for the wrong reason. And then again in 2012, I was really mad that garbage fake conservative Mitt Romney beat out my favorite, which was probably Rick Santorum, I guess. Because again, that's the world I lived in.
Hard pass.
But right around, jumping over to the 2016 election cycle, I was excited. This is my first time to vote. There's a whole new slate of Democrats and a whole new slate of Republicans. I'm in college now. Let's see where this goes. And I hitch my wagon to Rand Paul.
Okay.
Because at this point, I know enough about politics to know I've been on this Republican bandwagon my whole life. They don't do anything. They're not actually doing what they say they're doing. Rand seems different though. And then I started, actually listening to what Ron Paul had to say.
Yeah, nice.
And retroactively, I was like, I was a moron.
Yeah.
This guy's based. He had a chance of winning twice.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there booing him because his little guy was right there above Rick Santorum. And I was just like, no, I want Rick Santorum. I'm 14. I don't know what I actually want. But so I get into Rand Paul. I'm like, I'm supporting this guy's all the way. I'm voting for Rand Paul in the 2016 presidential election. No dice.
Yeah.
I get it. Good joke.
Yeah.
But around this time, I'm also listening to Joe Rogan, and on Joe Rogan, a little guy named Michael Malice pops
Yes.
I think Michael Malice is hilarious and awesome because I've not heard anyone approach things the way that Malice did. I'm also, going through a Ben Shapiro phase, Jordan Peterson, basically all of the gateways to the alt-right that everyone on my college campus and my philosophy courses was telling me was dangerous. I was like, I like these guys.
Yeah.
I want to hear what these guys have to say. But through Malice, listening to his show, that's when I got introduced to Tom Woods.
All right.
There you go.
And once I found Tom Woods, at this point, I was fully saying I am a libertarian. I was not a member of the party, but I was like, I'm not a Republican anymore. I am a libertarian. Then I hear Tom Woods. I'm a minarchist at this point.
Right.
I think small government can still work and function. Tom Woods and Dave Smith, again, through that same connection through Michael Malice, that triad forms. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, these guys are intelligent. They have good ideas. I agree with them on most things. They're anarchists, though. Maybe I should give some consideration to this anarchy thing.
Yeah.
And so I start thinking about it. I hear the arguments. I hear what they're saying, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. And so through these guys, I become full-on anarcho-capitalist and begin to pick up, Mises and Rothbard and Hoppe. And now at this point, I'm full-on into the ideology. I'm a Mecock. I'm a member of the party. I'm a member of the Mises Caucus, and that's where I find myself today.
Great.
So now, being a great libertarian like that, and being in the gaming community, now we're more obviously in the video gaming community, and that's definitely feels like a very liberal space. Is there a tabletop community, and what is it like politically?
There is a tabletop community, and it's very much the same way
Okay.
as the actual video game community. There's a lot of crossover there. We are having what's good for the hobby, but bad as far as politics and getting not being hit over the head with just blue pill nonsense. There's this big influx of celebrity culture into tabletop role playing games because of things like Stranger Things. And because people like, and I'm not casting any dispersions on this guy, don't know where he stands politically, but, people like Joe Manganiello and, Matthew Lillard, these actors that people know are D&D players. A lot of those guys, they like to say the same talking points. And, with that, with these guys having tremendous amounts of influence and the whole like Twitter crowd, the Twitter mob that forms around anything fun and entertaining that just burns it down because it doesn't look the way I want it to. They're all
They hate
swirling
joy.
around. Yes. I hate fun. Yeah. The one saving grace I'll say about tabletop role playing games that we have over gaming, over movies, those people, unless they like form SWAT teams and start raiding your house, they can't control what happens at your table. So how you play your character is still very much up to you. How you run a game, how you and your friends like to play, you still have that. No one can take that away from you again unless they literally start forming actual SWAT teams and raiding your house if you don't have a specific number of BIPOCs or whatever term they're using now in your game.
What is that?
Apparently, it's the new way to refer to people of color. It stands for like Black Indigenous People of Color. It's a new nonsense word that if you don't use, they can now smack you and say you're using the wrong word.
Oh, a new acronym to learn. All right,
Yeah.
write it
Thank
down.
you, Ministry of Newspeak.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did because Google knows I like D&D. It's always putting stuff in my news feed. I got wind of some changes that they're making to the races of D&D. Do you want to talk about that at all? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so traditionally in D&D, for anyone who has played any kind of RPGs, there's the alignment system. You've got your lawful and your lawful, neutral, chaotic, and then good, neutral, and evil. Typically, the way that races are described, they have a certain alignment leaning. Whereas, if elves tend to be more chaotic in nature, dwarves tend to be more lawful, orcs tend to have kind of an evil alignment. And what's happened is these fun police are looking at orcs and projecting their own kind of bigotry about black people onto what they see in these orcs.
Oh my
So they're like,
gosh.
hey, this reminds me of stereotypes that people have of black people, even though it has nothing to do with anything. I'm just kind of putting this on this. So D&D is racist. And
Wow.
that whole thing exploded on Twitter, and now, Wizards, because it exploded on Twitter, Wizards, which is owned by Hasbro, they've got the big
Yeah.
corporation behind them,
Right.
saying, all right, you got to mollify these people. They're now saying, all right, we're taking away, the alignment leanings of races, which wasn't ever set in stone to begin with. In your monster manual, you have to know something's alignment because it tells you how they're going to react to the players.
Right.
So, if you have like a band of orcs, typically the orcs you encounter are going to be chaotic evil because they only care about survival, and they're not particularly interested in, what you might consider moral behavior, because they're basically just this far away from animals. So if you take that away, then you're like, all right, we have these orcs. Not really sure how they'd react to your players. What's going to end up happening is people are going to go, orcs are evil. They're going to attack you, regardless of what the book says, because that's just been ingrained in your heads. Orcs are bad guys. So it's a non-issue. It's something that didn't need to be addressed that apparently needed to be addressed.
Like when I was going to make some of my characters, like my game style is like a min-maxer, so I went on, I did my research. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna build like a warlock that casts darkness on his blade, and I'm gonna be like min-maxing everything. And then I found some advice that was like, dude, some of the best characters I've ever played were the ones that were like, they had faults. They were underpowered in certain areas, right? Or they were against the stereotype, right? So like a good orc cleric or something, with a bad wisdom stat, something like that. And so it seems like this whole conflict is going to end up in like, someone's going to cast like a homebrew spell around intersectionality, and like it's just going to be combat. We can remove combat because it just matters, race and gender, right? That'll resolve all that. That'll resolve no matter any role. It'll be a trump card right there. Boom.
Yep.
Can you try and kick
Yeah,
up our audio really quick, Brax? Sorry to cut in there.
Oh, all good.
Kick up our audio really quick. Sounds like Ryan's far away. So just
I don't know how
Sounds
to.
like I'm far away.
I'll try to turn him up. Yeah.
Let's see. Make sure it's not on my end.
I cranked him up in Discord.
Cool.
all right, cool. Hopefully that'll be better.
Am I closer? Do you feel that I'm right behind you?
Yeah.
Roll for initiative.
Good stuff. Awesome. So are there any games that either feature excuse me, I know we just kind of talked about the problem that didn't need to be solved there in D&D. But are there any pro like SJW board games, or even anti, that you're aware of, or maybe even pro liberty? Like, are there any games you're aware of that like really? I know D&D because you kind of control your own destiny, and depending on how the DM plays it, maybe you're kind of gonna reap what you sow, kind of thing, which is kind of a libertarian concept. Besides maybe D&D, are there any that strike you as aligned with playing out libertarianism in a game, or actually feature a social justice warrior theme, something like that?
Oh, there are tons of games out there that are straight up just like, this is social justice warrior nonsense. A lot of that stuff is indie, and it's built around kind of their conceptions of the world. It's crowdfunded type stuff, so it's all their people paying for that game. Typically, only like 100 to 200 people buy those games. So,
Oh wow, okay.
Right.
yeah, it's very much this is a game that I made for the people who care about this stuff, and all 12 of us are going to play it.
Right.
There's dozens of us.
I made this game to get a representation for people of color, and it's 12 white people who are going to buy it, and that's it.
Yeah. And I do want to shout these guys out, though. I've had them on the show twice. We do have 2 great libertarian. These guys actually put an advertisement on Free Man Beyond the Wall, which is how I got connected with them.
Cool.
But John and Joe Page from Project Full Blade, they are two good libertarian guys. They've got a game called Project Full Blade, which is a fantasy RPG. If you go to, I believe it's projectfullblade.com, you can see the material. The idea behind the game is it's like a living game that's constantly going to be updated and added on to. They've got a Patreon going right now for being able to provide new content. But in promoting their show, or not their show, their game, they have a audio drama out on YouTube called The Wraith's Redress,
Oh wow.
which gives you like an introduction to the world of their game. And currently they're working on a sequel to that audio drama, which I'm doing voice work for.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Sounds
awesome.
Awesome.
Wow.
Really awesome.
I'm on their Facebook right now. This looks sweet. I'm gonna check this out more.
I want to be
Yeah,
part of an audio drama. I gotta get with them.
They are great guys. They're actually, one of them is good friends with Michael Heiss, actually.
Neat.
So
Okay.
they're kind of tied in with that world. They know Pete Quinones like personally, so that's how they got the connection there. So yeah, they're well into the liberty movement, and they specifically our side of the liberty movement. And they're great guys. It's a great project, and I want everyone to support it, especially if you're watching a show like this and you love RPGs. If you want to support some guys who are in the movement like us and think like us and are just kind of promoting a good game that they're working on independently. Project Full Blade. Those are your guys.
Awesome.
If I can look into that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, John Page did my theme music. So.
Oh, cool. Nice. So, what are you thinking in terms of election outcomes? Who do you think's going to win? And then give us scenarios of what you think happens when Trump wins or when Biden wins.
So, my gut tells me that Trump wins. But I can see a scenario in which we don't know the results tonight. It goes to the lawyers, it goes to the House, it becomes contested, and then in some way Biden squeaks out a victory at that point using the Eddie Guerrero methodology of lying, cheating, and stealing. Although both sides do it, so
yeah.
Right.
Trump is not. I'm not like one of those QAnon people who's like Trump is the white knight, the savior. No. But I do think if we have results tonight or tomorrow, it'll be in favor of Trump. As far as predictions for what happens, Trump wins and riots pop off everywhere, all over the place. Although I do think if Biden wins, also riots.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see it. I hope not. What? Tell me why what would the reason be? Their guy won.
I think it's partially kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles syndrome of we're so happy we're going to tear things down.
We're drinking because we lost, or we're drinking because we won.
Yeah, but I also think there's an element of this narrative that Trump is not going to give up the White House has been kind of drilled into people's heads with CNN and MSNBC. So I think there's going to be this thought process of even though our guy won, we now have to tear everything down to make sure the other guy leaves. So I think there's either way, it's going to be chaos, and it's all going to come from the same direction.
Wow. Okay. Man, none of that sounds good.